Friends and enemies, welcome to yet another edition of the Mighty CBP. I'm Len, the legend. I'll be doing this one solo today. Joy's got the night off, and I will be talking to in just a little bit Eric and Stephen Wilson, the Wilson mining crew. And I'm going to dive deep into Bitcoin mining and a few other topics. But before we do that, it's a couple of things I have to check off my list of things to do, which are a couple of sponsors. So, sponsor number one, we have EasyDNS. If you have a website already up and going, or you're thinking of doing a website, talk to these guys. So, if you want to migrate your website over, you can. They have that ability to do so. If you want to create a website, you can go to them and create a website, get a domain name set up through them, or move your domain name to them. And there's a lot of different options. You can renew your domain over there. Email hosting. So, for example, if you do have a nice email, but you want to move it over to a nice, secure, and private company that can do it much better for you, EasyDNS has you covered. Or if you want to have your own email service set up, so you can have, Len at CanadianBitcoinersPodcast.com. I look very, very professional having that, so you might as well do the same. Copy us, do that. They have you covered. Virtual private servers, they have that too. So if you do stuff like BTC Pay Server or say a nodeless implementation, a lot of different options over there. Good thing is you can also pay with Bitcoin. So if you want, you can pay with your Bitcoin, but also take your dirty fiat. Either way, go over there, set up an account. If you use the code CBP Media, 50% will be taken off your initial purchase. So make sure that first purchase is quite large because you're going to get the most savings as a result. Second sponsor is Bull Bitcoin. I'll be honest, I don't know what the price of Bitcoin is today, so it might be a good time to buy, it might be a good time to sell. I don't know. Either way, they have you covered. You could do those buys on chain. You could also do them through Lightning. So if the fees get a little high, last time I checked, they weren't. So still do on chain buys. That's my opinion. Not financial advice. Do your own research, but you have those different options over there. Also, with Bull Bitcoin, there's a couple of other things you could do that are very interesting. Number one, you could pay your bills with your Bitcoin. So if you have a large stack of Bitcoin, you made some tremendous gains, you want to start spending it, well, why not use that to pay your bills, your electricity bill, your car bill, whatever the heck you want to pay. You can do that with Bull Bitcoin. They can facilitate that purchase. Second thing they have, if you want to live indirectly in the Bitcoin standard, you could buy gift cards through them and with your Bitcoin. So if you could go to Starbucks, Home Depot, wherever. So you are indirectly spending your Bitcoin in the real world, and you're doing this thanks to Bull Bitcoin selling you these gift cards. So lots of different options over there. Check them out. Open up an account if you haven't already done so with our promo code. $21 will be added to your account once you do that. So that being said, let's bring on Eric and Stephen Wilson from Wilson Mining. Gentlemen, how are ya?
I am tremendous. How about yourself?
All right, man. All right, my friend. As I was saying, I was living the dream, but sometimes it's a nightmare, especially today. The fiat mines. It's been a challenging day. Stephen, are you there? I know you're having some mic issues earlier on.
Yes, I am here. I can't get the camera to work, so you guys are gonna have to look at Eric today. So
No problem at all. No problem. So I'm just curious. I want to get a little bit of background from you, gents, about your Bitcoin journey. How it is you guys discovered Bitcoin, and how it is you guys set up this mining company.
So I got into Bitcoin. My neighbor introduced me to it in 2018. He said he was buying this digital cryptocurrency, which I had no idea what it was at the time. I had done no research on it, and so he just said, you should look it up. You should start buying. And I didn't look it up. I just started buying. And so I was buying all through 2018, and then I started, as I accumulated more and more of it, then I started to do research and thought, I have some money in this. I probably got to figure out what I'm actually putting my money in. And so I did more and more research, and then obviously I liked what I saw, and I just kept buying more and more. And so I was buying from 2018 to until we started the business, and then I got Steven into it. He's much better at telling the story about this than I
am. Yeah. So basically, I had like a break in my life. Like I was running a separate business at the time, and it was going well, so there just wasn't like a lot for me to do. And so anyways, a lot of the smart people that I know were starting to get interested in Bitcoin. And, I was pretty skeptical at the beginning, but, I was smart enough to realize that look, either all these guys are wrong, or I'm wrong. And either way, I need to figure out, what is going on here. So I took, a month and went down the rabbit hole and came out the other side. and was like, I have to have a business in the Bitcoin space. I just have to. Like I've always been very entrepreneurial, and so anyways, I come out the other side. I make up my mind to start the Bitcoin business, and so you naturally start throwing a bunch of stuff at the wall, and nothing really sticked until I landed on mining. And mining really stuck because you kind of needed like three things to get yourself off the ground with mining. You needed cheap energy, you needed a place to put the machines, they're extremely loud, and you needed somebody to be able to fix the machines. And so our families owned farmland in Iowa for a very long time. We're technically fifth generation farmers, and so there's wind turbines everywhere around us. And so we were like, okay, there has to be cheap energy somewhere around there. Like there's these turbines everywhere. If we go down there and start knocking on doors, I bet we can find some. And then there's we can stick one of these containers in the middle of one of our cornfields. There's not a neighbor for miles and miles and miles. We won't bother anybody. Okay, that makes sense. And then the last thing was like, who's going to fix the machines? And Eric skipped over this, but he was a car mechanic for 7 years. And just growing up with him, I've never seen him come across a machine that he couldn't figure out and fix. And so that was kind of the bet, was like, I bet Eric could figure out how to fix these machines. And so anyways, based off that, basically that limited, kind of simple mindset to the whole thing, I called Eric and was like, hey, I think we should start a Bitcoin mining company. And I'm 15 seconds into the pitch, maybe. And he's like, I'm in, let's go, let's saddle up. And so anyways, we took off and bought a machine and bought one machine at the top and like late 2021, and stuck it in our mom's basement and just like figured out, okay, how do we turn it on and how do we connect to a pool, and like just figuring out like the basics. And then you start getting the your payouts, and things kind of spiral from there. And we took off down to Iowa after that, and yeah, that's kind of like the origin story for us. There was a lot of mistakes along the way too, obviously, before we kind of started figuring this whole thing out, obviously.
So you're nearly 3 years into this Bitcoin mining business. Now I'm curious then, what could you tell your younger self? Say you could meet your 2021 self and you could say just one thing to him and to potentially to divert yourself from any problems. What would you tell him?
I've thought about this before. I think it's kind of unique mindset. I wouldn't tell myself anything. I would let myself go through all the problems, all the struggles, because I'm personally very happy with where we are now. We've gone through a lot of problems. We really haven't, nothing's been tremendously bad where we haven't been able to recover from. And that just all the mistakes we made helped us to get where we are now. And, I think we're doing pretty well. So I wouldn't say anything. I would just let sit from the sideline and watch myself struggle.
That's fair. Steven, would you agree?
Yeah, I would just say give yourself plenty margin of error. And like things are just gonna go wrong. Like and there's so many components that go in to kind of making the whole mining business work. And give yourself a big margin of error, because you're not going to get it perfect. Like there's just so much that's going into it, and there's so many different like areas of expertise that you kind of have to have your head wrapped around, which is like the economic side, you have to the electricity side, the airflow side, the repair side. Like there's tons of things that all go into it that you could realistically specialize in any one of those. But with mining, you have to have your head wrapped around all of them and give yourself some leeway to make mistakes and not, put yourself out of business the first mistake.
Now, is there any chance there's going to be a sequel to Field of Dreams, and this is going to be about Bitcoin mining? Because you guys are based in Iowa, right? This is
yeah.
I suppose, yeah, we could just walk out of the cornfield.
Set up a couple of yeah, that'd be awesome. I can do a Field of Dreams too, but it's about Bitcoin mining. So you guys do a few different things. Products, you sell products. I assume you guys sell ASICs. Is that what are the things you guys sell? hosting services, and consulting. That's the three things I see from your website. So
Mm-hmm.
let's just talk about the products. I'm curious to see to what it is you typically sell. What type of equipment is it? Bitmain? Is it somebody else? I want to hear a little bit more about this.
It's mainly what's miners now. We used to not sell miners at all because we took the approach, let's focus on the hosting side. We'll let the miner resellers resell the miners. But then we did the math, and the miner resellers were making an absolute tremendous amount of margin. And one, that's not good for our business because people don't want to come in and buy miners if they're too expensive. And two, it pissed us off a little bit because we realized they made more money on one sale than we would make on the hosting all year. And so we were like, yo, that's kind of, we don't, that's kind of fucked up. So we started selling the What's miners. Well, we've only kind of sold What's miners. I think there's been maybe one or two. Well, we've sold used Bitmain products, but that's just from current customers that want to upgrade to with the What's miners and whatnot. What else?
I mean, we've tried selling at the beginning we tried selling like immersion tanks.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And that kind of became, not really worth it. We were selling like these shroud type things that you would like attach onto the back of the miners to help with airflow. Eric was like 3D printing these, and we just built that because in the middle of the summer, like we were just battling the heat so much, and so we were trying to get clever and come up with any kind of solution that we could to just help the miners get through the 90 plus days that we have. And we don't have too many of them in Iowa, but they do happen. And, it gets tough when you're running, 3,000 watts through a machine in 90-degree heat to keep it cool. So you have to get clever. So, we've tried selling a handful of different things.
So immersion tanks, if I recall correctly, Stephen, you are an opponent of immersion, and Eric, you are a proponent, or did I get that wrong?
Well, when we first started out, all the products that we tried to sell is basically stuff that we were using ourselves, and we've already built it and say, all right, why don't we just sell it and see what happens? So when we first started, we thought immersion was definitely the way to go. And so we had our first setup was in our mom's shed in Iowa. It was like a 100 kilowatt immersion setup. We got the tank from Stan from Arctic Systems. We first bought a system from DCX, which did not work well, and it leaked, and I had to fix it a lot. And that only held like 6 miners. And then we got a 20 miner tank from Stan. I built the cooling system, the cooling loop. We were using well water to cool the miners, which worked out really well. But it was quite expensive. And so we realized, immersion's great when it's hot out, but it's not very hot in Iowa for that. It's hot for like May, June, July, August, and then it's, pretty temperate, pretty cool. And so we don't get the real benefit of immersion for, 8 months out of the year, just for 4. And so we were like, well, we're spending X amount of dollars building this immersion system, especially, the bigger we get, the more, we have to buy bigger pumps, bigger tanks, bigger containers, more fluid, all that stuff. I mean, that costs a lot, and we're not getting the benefit out of it. And so we quickly switched to air cooling and thought, our climate just doesn't necessarily call for immersion or liquid cooling. It just doesn't, the extra CapEx just doesn't give us any advantage. And so we both started off with immersion. Then we came to the conclusion that, again, CapEx is too expensive. We don't get the benefit. We'll stick with air cooling. And so it's just easier, simpler, and cheaper to set up.
Is contamination a big issue with immersion?
Not necessarily. I mean, some guys run filters through the fluid and stuff. We just put a tarp over our tank. We just called it good. I mean, no, it doesn't, the oil doesn't really, it's not two-phase, so it doesn't really evaporate. It doesn't, it doesn't, was never an issue for our specific setup, I suppose. I suppose if it's really dusty, maybe, but not for us.
And you guys you do hosting. I'll touch upon that lastly, but consulting as well. So who comes to you for consulting services, and what type of consulting services do you offer?
You want to take that one, Steven?
Yeah. Typically people like who are looking to set up their own farms, their own operations. And, are looking for a little bit of guidance in terms of, containers that they want to buy. Where do you get your transformers from? Stuff like that. And, we'll kind of point them to the guys that, we've done business with that we like. But yeah, most of the people that are coming to us are primarily for hosting. I would say that's like, the overwhelming majority of our business, and what people are coming to us for is the hosting services. And yeah, I guess I can jump right into that if you guys want to.
Yeah, I want to hear more about this.
Yeah, so we got started hosting. We started self mining. We didn't really have we didn't start with the idea that we were going to start hosting. But the economies of scale with everything and how expensive it all was. Like, we're just two brothers. Like, we're in our late 20s. I'm not rich. So you kind of have to get creative with how you do things. And we had spent a lot of our money on miners, and we wanted to have a nice container, and we wanted to go with one of the best container manufacturers, which is Upstream Data.
Mm-hmm.
And the higher up that you go, the better the unit economics are on the containers. And so if we were going to buy like a 20 unit one, like the numbers just didn't work as well as if we were going to buy like a 500 kilowatt, which is 144 units. And so the idea was, okay, let's just go and we started with a 500 kilowatt container, and then we'll put our own miners in there, and then we'll sell the remaining slots as hosting to hosting clients. And so yeah, that's kind of how we got into the hosting business, and have really been leaning very heavily on that ever since.
So when you buy this container from, say, Upstream Data, and you have to tell them specifically you're going to be using what's miner, or are they all basically the same type of space? Like, if you put in, say, a Bitmain, is it going to be the same type of racks that are going to be used?
So with the V2s, we had a V1, but I'll explain how the V2s work, because that's what you'd be buying now. They send like these little metal cutouts that you just like kind of slip into the back. So it's the same rack. It's just it'll have like the what's miner cutout is a little shallower. The Bitmains are quite a bit taller, and so you just throw in that little metal cutout in the back of the rack, and then the what's miners go right in there. And so, you give them a heads up, say, hey, I'm going to need these. I'm going to need the what's miner cutouts, or I'm going to need half what's miners and then half, Bitmain. And then they just include, however many cutouts you need at no extra cost. You just got to let them know. But yeah, so it's really simple. It takes, 3 seconds to throw the metal cutout in there. It's pretty nice, actually.
Do you guys have any experience with those hydro units? I know you touched upon immersion, but the hydro units are the self-contained. It's everything. It's built in one, but they're huge or humongous in size comparison. But they hash out quite a lot of. It's a high tier hash. So
yeah, I have never got my hands on one. I'd be really interested to try it. But no, I have never got my hands on one. It'd be really nice because you can fit so much more power density in those things, and so you can have a smaller container, and your capex cost will be lower. Well, the container will be lower. You still have to buy the dry cooler, the piping, and everything like that. But no, those things look really cool. I'm kind of interested to try one, but
it's humongous though.
yeah, oh yeah, I'm sure.
So you guys must have run the numbers. Say, like, I'm looking to buy Bitcoin at today's price versus I go to your company and I used your hosting services. At what point is it more worth my while to take advantage of Bitcoin mining versus just simply buying it from an exchange?
Here's what I typically tell people. And so mining is the best way to dollar cost average. Basically what you're doing is you're buying electricity every day. You shoot the electricity up to the ASIC, and you get Bitcoin out the other side. You DCA every single day, right? And typically, if everything's going well, you're doing it below the spot price. You buy your electricity for X amount, you get a certain amount of Bitcoin left after, and then there's a profit, right? We can all kind of figure that out. The only thing is that I tell people is, like, especially when they're just getting in and they're really, really excited about mining, is like, there's a lot more risks that go into mining than just spot buying, right? Like when you spot buy off an exchange, I want to buy $1,000 or $5,000 worth of Bitcoin. I send them the money, they send me the Bitcoin. I know exactly how many Bitcoin or Sats I'm going to get for the amount of Bitcoin, for the amount of US dollars, like that trade, right? With mining, that's not true. You have transaction fees, you have network difficulty that go into it, you have uptime and downtime, and there's the reliability of your hosts, or your ASIC goes down. There's like there's a lot more risks that go into mining, which is why the miners get to profit, so to speak, right? And so typically what I tell people is like, let's say you had 20,000, you were looking to, if you're just getting started in Bitcoin, I want to allocate $20,000 into this asset class. So I'll typically tell people, buy $10,000 worth of Bitcoin right now, get your sats, get them in cold storage, lock them away. You're good to go. Then if you want to take more risk, then we can buy some ASICs, but let's not buy $20,000 worth of ASICs and risk the whole investment on the most risky way to get Bitcoin, which is mining. And usually some formula like that, depending on like the person's risk profile and stuff like that, makes a lot of sense for people. So that's typically what I tell people, but every situation is unique, of course.
And do they have to provide their own ASICs, or they could purchase it from you and then you guys would then plug it in on your location and go from there?
Yeah, so we actually require people to purchase their miners through us, and we require them to purchase a specific kind of miner. So when we first got started, we were just taking, anybody who would send us their miners, we were taking them. And it kind of, it worked out for the start, but we kind of ran into some issues, which was we're getting all different kinds of makes and models of miners. And so for somebody like Eric, who's a car mechanic, like all he wants to do is fix the same kind of car day in and day out. I have all the parts for it. I know all the air codes. You see, there's a nice smooth process to it. And then for us, we are, big proponents. We've publicly been, big proponents of What's Miners over Bitmain products, and they have performed. I mean, we were just noticing that the guys that had What's Miners that sent us, we would go months without talking to them because their machines worked the whole time, and they just ran perfectly. And so, and all the issues that we were having were coming from the Bitmain miners. And so finally, it was like, you just see it enough times to you're like, maybe we should just be doing What's Miners. And sure, they have a little bit less efficiency, and typically you pay a little bit more for them, but you're not having, the $300 hash boards go down. You're not having the control board go down. You're not having to send it back into warranty work, and all that stuff kind of really adds up. And it just also it's like a terrible customer experience when their miners are constantly needing repairs, and the whole time they just wanted to buy it. Get Bitcoin deposited into their wallet every week or every month or whatever it is, and have it be a passive form of like Bitcoin dividends or income, so to speak. So anyways, we basically took it into our own hands and said, look, this is the stuff that we know that works in our facilities, the containers that we run, the stuff that we're comfortable fixing. You buy it through us and you buy the models that we like, or you'll have to go somewhere else. And that was kind of the line in the sand that we drew. But it also allows us to stay a small team, which is super important, where the more guys that we have to hire, the higher the hosting rate goes up. Like people cost money, and if the more people that we have to hire, the higher the rate goes up. And that's kind of obviously the main thing that everybody wants is like, I want to pay the lowest cost for my hosting rate. That's my only, input cost that goes into like running this machine if you're hosting with us.
Sorry,
yeah.
Go ahead.
No, that's I was done with my tangent.
So I mean, then what are the rates? I'm assuming there's going to be electricity costs and some sort of overhead. Maybe you could give me some statistics on what you guys charge.
Yeah, so we got our second container online. We were doing a pre-sale for our third container, where if you would make a pre-order for What's Miner, we did a big group buy, and so we did a futures order. And so what that allowed us to do is it allowed us to get the large MOQ pricing for the one MOQ guy. And so what we did was we had a bunch of guys come in. I want 1, 2, 3, 5, 10, 20 miners. We combined everybody's order into one futures order, got really low pricing for everybody, which I think our pricing was like $500, $600, $700 below what the current market was for one MOQ. And then we gave everybody a 6.9% or a 6.9 cent hosting rate for a year, and then after that it goes up to 7.5, because 7.5 is like the normal rate that we typically do. 6.9 was just, we want guys to pre-order, because again, I want to sell slots before I have them, and that's just how I would like to operate the business. Again, just like car sales, let me take pre-orders for cars before I build them, so I know how many cars I got to build. So it was 6.9 cents for the pre-orders. We might do that again, we're not sure. Right now, we just have slots available for 7.5 cents. There's no other fees. Well, there's a 1-month security deposit for the power. It's refundable. So when you mine, give us a 1-month power. We hold on to it just like an apartment. You need a security deposit. You pay your bills. If you ever stop mining, you pay all your bills. You get that 1 month back. There's no other fees, repair costs. We don't charge labor for anything. It's just, you buy the parts at cost that we buy it for, like fans, control boards, power supply units, stuff like that. We swap everything. We don't charge you for it. You just pay for the parts. And other than that, there's no fees added on. Everything's included. We don't add taxes, anything like that.
So one of the things, I think it was 2 years ago, that left a black eye in the hosting field was Compass Mining, and they rugged a few of their customers. And so what I'm trying to get then at is, what sort of assurance do you guys, or can you provide to your customers or potential customers, and how could you try to lure them in to say, yeah, we are different and better than them?
We assume like risk. So like a lot of the things that kind of went wrong in the hosting space was like people wanted to get into mining so badly. And the hosts were signing people, they're locking people into like 2, 3, 4 year contracts that are, ironclad. And they're not really assuming any of the risk that goes into kind of what it takes to mine or whatever. And so what we did when we were first starting was we said, look, your contract's for 12 months and then it'll go month to month. But if for any reason you can just give us a 30-day notice, hey, this isn't working out, guys. Please send my miners somewhere else, or send them back to me, or please try to sell them for me. And that was kind of a way for us to kind of take some responsibility and risk ourselves, where we invested into this container. That's the risk that we are assuming. You invested into this miner. We're both going to do the best job that we can to provide a great hosting service for you, and then obviously you be a good customer for us. And it's just a more like natural way to do business correctly. And Compass really kind of, a lot of our customers came from Compass, and surprise, surprise. And so they put a big black eye on the whole industry. And if you got burned by them, or you had heard bad stories about them, there are small guys like us who to actually take pride in what we're doing, and are trying to actually run a great business, and provide a good service for you to actually make money, and not just burn all your money through Compass. But yeah, we're small, and so a lot of the really good guys are obviously small. So
That's it. The other thing is, the other problem with Compass is they didn't own or operate any of the sites. They just had basically a big hosting agreement with another operator who would actually run the site. Compass had no say in what happened with that site. You can contact Compass and say, I need help, and Compass can contact the site, and the site, there's too many guys in between the customer and the actual miner hashing. With us, again, we own the site. We don't own any debt on it. We own the container. I'm the one operating it. And so you can contact and talk to the guys who are directly responsible for making your miner hash. With bigger companies like Compass, again, that's just not something you could do, because, again, they have a customer service line you call, and those guys have no incentive to get your miner online. They're just regular hourly employees, like most people. And again, when you go to your job, and you're an hourly employee, it's not your name on the business, do you really care what happens at the end of the day? No, you tend to go home and you forget all about it. It's not your responsibility. With us, I go home and I'm still running the business. I'm still thinking about it, still answering emails and and customer calls and questions and stuff like that. So I mean, it's I can't get away from just not having miners hash. There's no clock out. It's 24/7.
Your last name is on the company name. So
exactly. Yeah.
There's a huge connection. So as for your electricity, where do you source it from? Is it primarily coming from those windmills that you touched upon earlier, or I'm curious, what's the source of your electricity?
So the Iowa grid, it's like anywhere from like 40 to 70% wind, depending on the day. But we pull straight from the grid. And so, it is the Iowa grid. So it's, 50-60% wind. But, other than that, it's, coal, nat gas, the typical stuff like that. But yeah, it's
Any
just pulled
thoughts?
straight from the grid.
So any thoughts on that 30% tax that Biden was proposing some time ago that was going to be added to Bitcoin miners, any sort of crypto miners, I guess we'll call Bitcoin miners, and that 30% will be added on the electricity costs. So what are your thoughts on that?
I don't think I don't think that'll happen. And if it does, we're not mining Bitcoin anymore at that point. We're high performance computing. It just happened to be running this servers that look just like Bitcoin miners. But yeah, I mean, because again, we're out in the middle of nowhere. There's nobody checking in on us. It's really hard to, pin us down because again, you don't really know we're there. So
you're
really
playing baseball.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're playing baseball. We're farming. There's hogs out there. It smells like shit. Nobody wants to come out here.
I want to get into the HPC in just a little bit, but before I do, there's a few things I want to just check off my list. You were not talking all that fondly about Bitmain, and I can understand that they have kind of a monopoly on the system itself. So what are your thoughts about competition, and is there any potential competition that could maybe give them a run for their money? But not just that, also have a company that has Western roots, maybe in the United States, that gets involved in Bitcoin mining. I think Blockstream, they're getting so like I want to hear your thoughts about like Bitmain, the monopoly they have, and maybe some company like Blockstream interrupting their monopoly.
So we've talked with Block a lot actually about their proposed miner, and we're really excited about it. The things that we've seen is that miner looks really good. The serviceability will be good. I think they're taking a really important stance on reliability and just having actual customer service. And so we're really excited about, again, their miner. And then the What's miners do well, but again, they're made in China. But I mean,
Sorry to interrupt. You're talking about Block, so that's the Jack Dorsey company, not the not Blockstream, the Adam Back company. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, Block. Yeah, the Jack Dorsey company. Yeah.
Okay, got it. Sorry.
Yeah. We've seen their. I mean, we have an NDA, so I can't tell you anything. But I mean, we've seen the concepts of their miner, and it just looks. They're asking the right questions when it comes to building a good product, and actually, because a lot of times that we saw with cars is putting when you're repairing a car, clearly reliability was not a thought. It was how can we make this work for as cheap as possible and have it live to the end of the warranty, and then after that it's too bad, so sad. That is not the feeling we get from Block. They are making sure that you are able to service their miner right on the rack and just make. I gotta be careful what I say here.
God, I understand.
I know. They're trying to make serviceability and reliability really, really important, and it's really a relief to see that.
So I'm going to ask you a question to this, and I know there's an NDA, so feel free to say I can't answer that. Is it, from what you could see, is there going to be strong competition to what's already in existence?
Yeah, that's what it seems like.
Mm-hmm.
And if you had to guess, and basically also you have the NDA, when do you think something may be available for sale to the customer? And if you can't answer, that's fine.
I asked them that, and they did not say. All they did was point me to the blog post that they made.
That's clear.
Yeah, I'm just as curious as you. I want something right now.
Yeah, I mean, I want something good. If it takes some time to do it, that's cool with me. But yeah, I appreciate you being able to answer what I asked, and I had no idea that they're this far into it. So in terms of, I want to know how much hash rate you guys have. We talked about it before the show, but I just want to make sure everybody's aware, because you guys are pumping out quite a bit of hash rate. So like, give yourself a pat on the back and say how much hash rate you guys have.
Eric?
Yeah, so right now we don't have that many miners actually, because we've sold a lot of our Bitmain miners to try to buy more What's miners. So I think our Wilson Mining's partial hash rate is right around 200 to 500 terahash. So I think we have because we have some broker miners that we kind of use for spare parts sometimes. I think we have 5, 6, 7 miners doing, like I said, anywhere from 200 to 500 terahash span, that depending on the weather outside. But the pool is doing really well. I think I was telling you this before we came in. I think the daily average hash rate we got for the pool is like 1.3 exahash, and we just came out with that pool not that long ago. And so obviously that's been doing tremendously well, and so we're super happy with that. We've had a few big guys come online. People are clearly interested in the FPPS payouts and the 0.38% fees. And then obviously I think a lot of people like the fact, because we got this idea from co-ops, is if we all combine our hash rate, we can all get lower fees. So the more hash rate our pool has, the lower the fees go. It's because when we break 2 exahash, we go down to 0.24. We break 5 exahash, we go down to 0.17. We're over 10 exahash, I think we're at like 0.14. So obviously the fees get lower and lower, just as we have more people combining hash rate. And so it's again, that's what we try to get all our customers, all the small guys on, and say, just come join this hash rate, come get lower fees. And the more we all work together, the better, the more sats we all make.
And this is Wilson Mining Pool, is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And anybody can join in, or they have to be actually being hosted by your company?
Anybody can join in. There's no MOQ. You can join with your BitAxe. You can join with your 200 megawatt farm. It doesn't matter. You can join in and combine to the hash rate, and let's all get lower fees.
Is a KYC free?
Just an email, yeah. But you could enter in a fake one. I don't care. Doesn't matter.
So you're doing your own research. And from what I understand, this is a proxy pool. Maybe you could talk a little bit about what that means.
Yeah, sure. So basically, I'll kind of back up a little bit. And
okay.
The reason that we decided to kind of go and try to do this was, there was a lot of good, information and kind of on-chain data that came out about a lot of the smaller pools, that they were actually just being backed by Bitmain. And, that was something that, when we first got in, we didn't know anything about the pools. And this was kind of right around the same time frame that Ocean had just come out. And there was, a lot of attention on the pools. And so everyone kind of got like a wake up call as to like what was going on with the whole pool ecosystem. And basically it really just kind of like rubbed us the wrong way, because like me and Eric, obviously, it's not a surprise. We're not huge fans of Bitmain. And if I'm sending, my hash rate to like somebody like Brains, and they're just using Bitmain's template, and Bitmain is the one who's backing the FPPS payouts, like I'm not cool sending my hash rate to Bitmain. I don't want to do that, and so it just really set us off the wrong way. And then like the pools are all very secretive, and you even have like a bunch proxy pools, which are basically what they're doing is they're going to one of the the handful of SPPS backers, which are Foundry, via BTC, Antpool, SBI Crypto, and I think I'm missing one more in there.
Who was the last one? It's not
but
F2.
Anyway,
Yeah,
or F2 pool. Yeah, F2 pool. So those are the only guys that are have enough backing to provide FPPS payouts. And what I mean by backing is that in order to not go bankrupt by doing FPPS, you need currently somewhere right now between like 1,400 and 2,000 Bitcoin, depending on what the fee how high the fees are. And so for all these small pools, you kind of you start running the numbers. You're like, do these guys have $100 million worth of Bitcoin on their balance sheet? I doubt it. And so then you start asking, so who is backing it? Like who is the person that actually is getting a say because they're controlling the keys, right? And so it just kind of, the whole thing just rubbed me and Eric the wrong way. And so we decided to go try to strike one of these PPS or these proxy pool deals ourselves. And so the best solution that we came up with was like, Bitmain is backing everybody, so let's not go to Bitmain. That's bad for Bitcoin. and they control all the small pools. Let's go to the smallest of the FPPS providers, which is SBI Crypto. And so we went to them, and they were super on board, like right from the get-go. They were like, yeah, we're gonna drop you guys down to this fee structure, and go have at it, basically. And so that's what we did. And the other thing we were going to do is we were just going to come out and say point blank, like, this is a proxy pool, and we're not going to pretend to be something that we're not here. And basically what we're doing is the fees that we're getting, we're just literally passing directly on to the end user, and we're not making a spread in the middle. So like, if you look at our dashboard, there's nothing fancy on it. It's very bare bones. If we get some traction with the hash rate, we might, we'll probably add some more features and stuff like that. But, as of right now, that's the whole kind of background and the story, and like kind of how the whole thing works, more or less.
So you're able to leverage the amount of hash rate you have to get a cheaper fee from this mining pool. So, for example, if somebody went directly to them, they wouldn't get as favorable a fee payout as you do with Wilson Pool Mining.
Yeah, correct. So if you had, one S9 and you went to SBI, you'd get 1.5%, or you sign up for our pool and you get 0.38%. But yeah, because again, the more hash rate we bring to SBI, the lower our rate gets. And so again, we're just combining everybody's hash rate together to get everybody a lower rate, and we're not making a spread on that rate at all. Like, again, that's what a lot of other proxy pools do is, they get the low rate because they're combining everybody's hash rate. Bitmain pays that, they pay Bitmain, 0.5%, and then they turn around and charge you 4%. So again, that's how they're making their money. That's now, again, we're not doing this to make money at all. That's why our dashboard is fucking basically nothing. Is again, let's just get the lowest fees that we can for everybody, and let's get more sats in everybody's pocket.
Well, yeah. We have sorry, go ahead.
The other thing is like, we're not in the pool business, right? Like, we're a hosting company. We mine Bitcoin. Like, that's our business. So, the pool thing is just like an extra add-on, basically, where we don't feel like pressure to, extract a bunch of value out of the user, so to speak. Like, you know what I'm saying? Where it's not a revenue line for us. Like, we already have our clear revenue lines that we have, and we're happy with them. So it's like, that's why you don't need to feel like skeptical about it. And like, what we get out of it is one, if you like the pool, it's an easy way for you to try us. Maybe you want to host a miner with us. Maybe you want to buy our miner through us. Like, that's what we're getting out of the situation. Like, we're not doing it, 100% for free. If you like the pool and you like what you're seeing from us, maybe you will buy a miner, maybe you will host one, maybe not. Either one's fine. But like, that is kind of like what we're getting out of it, so to speak.
You're helping out another FPPS pool. It's not Bitmain, sorry.
Related. Yeah,
so
we're getting some hash rate away from Bitmain.
Yeah. So Boomdust is just throwing this out there. If you guys need some data analysts, he could do that. This is what he does, I think, on his for his fiat job. So if you need some help, I'll be happy to provide you his contact information. In fact, he's the gentleman that helped get this whole thing set up for us between you guys and coming on this show. I think he sent this out on Twitter, and you guys agreed to come on. So without his help, you wouldn't be here, and we wouldn't be talking. So yeah, I just wanted to throw that out.
Definitely shoot his info over. We're tech and like software is not our expertise whatsoever. So we're always kind of looking for guys to kind of help us in that aspect, because we are quite literally illiterate when it comes to reading and writing software. Like, I literally can't do it. So that'd be awesome.
So I want to move on about, you touched upon HPC earlier, and this seems to be the flavor of the day, at least for the past few weeks. CoreWeave with Core Scientific, and there seems to be a lot of opportunities out there for people that have power to offer it up, not just for mining Bitcoin, but also for in HPC or the AI field, whatever. So I want to hear your thoughts about this in terms of, is this going to be the new way for Bitcoin mining companies to generate revenue, and substantial revenue at that, because they're buying up, or they're offering quite a bit of money from what I understand. So I want to hear your thoughts about this, if this is the way that the business is going to be moving towards.
Steven,
yeah. I have strong opinions about this, actually. And I think, so just to like, I've told this story to a number of people now, but like to put into perspective how serious these AI companies are about getting power. We got hit up by HPC, Hewlett Packard. And they were, this was like really, really early, and like when the public miners were starting to play around with the AI HPC stuff. And so we got hit up by them, and they were like basically got us on a sales call, and we're trying to sell us some H100s, right? And so we're on the sales call, and we're like, okay, so how much do these things cost? Like, I have no idea. I don't know anything about this stuff. The guy's like, well, like typically people will buy like 50 million at a time. I'm like, do you have any, and, we're in the middle of this call. Like, do you have any idea who you're talking to right now? Like I don't have 50 million. I have no way to get access to 50 million. Like, and kind of the point I'm making is like, how on earth did you even find yourself to us? Like, two brothers who do have a lot of access to a lot of power in the middle of nowhere. And that made me kind of realize like just how serious these AI companies are with like, we are going to get the power, and we don't really care, how much we spend or what basically happens. And so I think that a lot of, well, specifically, the public miners, I mean, they lose money, year over year and month over month. And me and Eric have kind of talked about that publicly on Twitter. And so they're just like not that good at mining Bitcoin, like as guys that do mine Bitcoin, like, I can read financial statements. Like I can actually do that, unlike I can with software. But like when I read their financial statements and I look at like what they're spending on, different areas of their business, I like barely can make sense of like how they could be spending that much money operating the business compared to like what I look at our own business. I think there's a very real possibility. So basically, I think there's a super real possibility that some of the AI companies are going to come in and write a huge check for the 200 megawatt PPAs that they have, for the 1 gigawatt worth of power infrastructure that they have, and just gut the whole thing, build their own infrastructure, the data centers that they need to run their own facilities, and just call it a day. Like I think it's that serious for them. And I think the CoreWeave deal was kind of like a taste of what's coming, but I could seriously look at somebody like a Riot with their huge, 1 gigawatt facility, and they just say, look, do you want, 5 billion for this facility, 10 billion? Like, what's the number to get access to the power? Because the race, the AI race is so serious, and the money in that space is just so outrageous that it's something that like we really can't even compete with in the mining space. Like we're way too small compared to them.
Anything you want to add to this, Eric, in terms of the HPC?
No, I mean, no, not really. I mean, Steven covers it pretty well. I just stick to the dirty miners.
So if you look at that, so they're hungry for power, and you were contacted by HPC. That is no small company. Do they need low latency? Do they need a big fat connection to their data center, or could they simply just operate off whatever it is being offered? Maybe even Starlink. Is that feasible to run these HPC data centers, or is that not good enough for them?
They care more about fiber optic connections than they do power cost. And so you do need fiber backbones, like you need 100 gigabit per second for X amount of megawatts. But no, fiber connections are way more important than anything else to them. But they do need access to power, so it is cheaper. Again, if I don't have power, I can't, doesn't matter where the fiber is, I can't run. So it's cheaper for me to go to the power where it is and then just pay for fiber to come to me. Yes, it might be expensive, but again, I need power. So I do have to go to where it is if I'm not able to get it.
Is there any chance this industry is going to overextend themselves for the next little while? I look at what happened with Bitcoin mining, the time when you guys started up Wilson Mining, and there was a lot of companies out there publicly traded that were taking on debt Core Scientific being one, and then they famously went
Mhm.
bankrupt as a result of that. But they thought just buying more equipment, going into debt was the right thing to do. But over time, the equipment value plummeted, and it was collateralized against the equipment, and it became just a shit show. But I'm wondering if the same thing is going to play out this time around, where there's this rush to get into this field, and a lot of companies are going to buy equipment and try to set them up, but maybe they're going to just overextend themselves and this to come collapsing down just the same way Bitcoin mining did a few short years ago. Do you think there's going to be any parallels between the two?
I mean, people have been overextending themselves for centuries now, so I'm sure it's gonna have, it's gonna be just the same. There's gonna have companies that leverage themselves to the absolute tits. They're gonna take out, because I mean, banks are way more inclined to lend money to, a FANG company or something along the lines of a tech company. All they say is the buzzwords like AI and programming and this and that, green energy, and a bank which is all right. Here's $100 million, go fucking crazy with it. And so, yeah, I'm sure that'll happen with some companies. I'm sure, just like the .com bubble, you'll have a few successful ones stick around like Amazon. But, just like everything else, there's a huge gold rush. Everyone's going to rush in, buy shovels, try to start digging themselves some gold. Some companies will find it and some will, go bankrupt. That's just how things work.
Now, here's a contentious topic.
Yeah.
So you guys operate a mining pool, and in the past, we had some mining pools that were offering up the ability to add garbage on the next block, like ordinals and BRC20 tokens. Have you guys ever been approached by anybody like that? Because it might have been lucrative for you, but at the same time, it may have pissed off a whole bunch of other people. So I'm not sure if it was a net gain in the end, but I was wondering if you've ever been approached to include some of this on the next block.
No, we've never been. We've never been approached. We've had a lot of people just kind of like testing our stuff out. But no, I don't foresee anyone going like directly to us to like do like a marathon type slipstream integration or anything like that. I think there's a lot of other people that you could go to before us where it would make more sense, quite frankly. But no, I mean, we're not into the whole ordinals inscriptions or anything like any stuff like that. I mean, if you want to pay the fees, I mean, so be it. I'll happily mine them. But you guys are gambling, and if you want to gamble on the chain, then gamble on the chain, I guess, and hand all of your sats to us because they're in good hands over here. So.
Did you hear that Marathon's now mining even a shitcoin? I forget the name of it, but it was just announced today.
I heard that
what
today.
The fuck is this? Well, anyways, I don't want to talk about Marathon too much. This is about you guys. But what the fuck?
I heard that today. One of our customers messaged that to me on Telegram, and I thought it just kind of looked desperate from their perspective. I don't know anything about Caspa or like even the market cap or like how much like what's the daily revenue that they pay out or whatever. But if I looked at it, I'm sure I would find that it's very, very small, and Marathon's probably going to be at they could be at 51% tomorrow. It just I don't understand how any of that makes sense. And the press release, they said diversifying revenue, and it's like all that sounds like to me is that you guys suck at mining Bitcoin. Like that's just like you're diversifying away from Bitcoin mining, but like where are you going to go to? You go to Caspa. Like how is that any better? It doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever.
100% agree. Yeah. And were you at the mining disrupt that was taking place? I guess this is the last day. Or did you guys not attend?
No, we haven't been to any conferences. It is my personal goal where I don't want to go to a conference unless I'm being paid to go to a conference. I don't know. It just seems like there's a lot of people there that aren't, again, no offense if you went, but I mean, it's, you go there to have fun. You don't go there to, be serious about anything, which is perfectly fine, have your fun. But, I'm busy here working and making sure miners hash. I don't have time to go to conferences and talk about miners hash, and I have enough. I barely have enough time to make miners hash. I can't talk about it. I got to go do it.
That's fair. I guess the last question I have, somebody's asking, do you guys have active NPubs? Are you guys on Oster?
I am not. I'm actually not very active on social media at all. Most of the stuff you see on Twitter is mainly Steve, and I'm not active on that at all.
I want to get. It's been a goal of mine to get set up on Noster. So not yet, but follow us on Twitter, and when I do get one, I will obviously post it there. But yeah,
I'll be following you right from the get-go. So I want to wrap things up. This is getting close to an hour, and I want to thank you guys for taking time to come on the show. But before we do sign off, I just want to hand over the baton to you. Where can people find you? And if you have any last words, anything, the floor is yours, guys.
sure. Yeah, you can find us on Twitter at Wilson Mining, and then our website is wilsonmining.io. Yeah, I guess final thoughts I can leave you guys with is, if you've kind of dabbled with Bitcoin mining with some success or not a whole lot of success, this industry has been plagued with a lot of people that basically didn't really know what they were doing, and didn't have a lot of experience in Bitcoin, didn't have a lot of experience running a business, and were just very unprofessional and sometimes fraudulent, right? And you can definitely make money Bitcoin mining, and it comes with plenty of risks, but majority of the risk is going to be in the guys who are operating the machines. So if you're lucky enough to find some guys that know what they're doing and know how to operate the machines correctly and can give you good guidance about when to buy your machines and maybe when to not buy your machines too, if prices are looking ridiculous, we'll straight up tell you like, hey, this is probably not a great time to be buying machines, even though it kind of goes against our best interest. So we've been expanding a lot this year, and we'll continue to do so. So we're going to have tons of open rack space coming up here. So if you're thinking about it, shoot us a DM, shoot us an email, book a meeting with us over Zoom, and we can kind of talk more about it. And yeah, that's all I got for you guys.
Awesome. And just curious, one last question I have: which one of you two are the older? Which is the elder brother?
That would be me. I'm a year and a half older than Eric, so not by much. But I don't tell him what to do. I never tell him what to do under any circumstances. So don't get confused.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So there you go, Stephen and Eric Wilson. Thank you guys for coming on, and check them out. All the information is going to be on the show notes on both the audio and video, and we'll be back at this again Monday. So until then, take care.